United WFC.
Good evening and welcome to the AFU United WFC Show with me, Matt Crane. We're back tonight. We're doing a WSL roundup so far. Obviously only 5 games in, but we're still going to chat about it anyway. Who's overperformed, who's underperformed, who's the player of the season so far. Obviously that's a difficult one, having played 5 games. But yeah, general WSL show tonight. So I've got Gareth. How are we?
Yeah, good. Thank you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, try to calm down from all that song making before, but you know, all part of the fun. Anthony, how are you doing, pal?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, it's all good. Glad we're getting some rewards for. Glad the audience are liking our shows and that. So, award winners, it's great to see, and hopefully we get bigger and better. But you all right?
Yeah, not bad. Just chilling. John says congratulations. Emma, I was going to ask you how you are, and I'm assuming you're still absolutely buzzing, but you know what? I'll still ask you anyway. I'll let you share your news.
Well, I was just going to say, yeah, even though I've not told what yet, but I doubt anybody will be on here. I've got a new job, so that's all good, finally, after several attempts with other people. So that's all good. And John, you've got the night off because I'm filling in. So
it's me. I can't take credit there, John, I'm afraid, as much as I'd love to.
To be fair, Emma's got a much pretty face than John, no offence.
Oh, thanks.
No offence to who? John or Emma?
John.
Good evening as well to Karen, Stuart and Vix. Yeah, right then, we will crack on. So, WSL, I think we'll start with the news that we all, I want to say laughed at, but that comes across a little bit harsh, but do you know what? It is what it is. So, a certain Mr. Willie Kirk walked or was sacked a couple of days ago, more than a couple of days ago now, 3 or 4 days ago from Everton. Had ambitions of winning the league and getting in the Champions League, and I don't even know what to say. It's just blown up in his face. I'll start with you, Gareth. Obviously, they're sat 8th in the table, 5 games. They've had 2 wins and 3 losses. 3 losses have come against sort of bigger teams, and it's only fair to say that. 8 signings in the summer. Now, I don't know about you, but I think maybe that was probably too much to try and bed in 8 new players in the short time between sort of summer and him being sacked was probably asking quite a lot. I think for me, if he'd have done it, you know, like a process of maybe 4 or 5 and then possibly some next summer, but he went the whole hog and it's cost him his job. But where do you sort of stand on that then? Is it harsh? Is it, you know, justified, or what do you think?
I think it's a little bit harsh. Just to have kind of an alternative view to what I expect is going to come later. They're comfortably, for me, the 4th best side in the division. 5th best side, rather. They're comfortably the 5th best side in the division. They have not lost against anybody other than the top 4 since pre-pandemic. So I think the job that Willie Kirk's been doing has been fine. I think they've had a difficult start to the season in terms of the games they've played. They played Chelsea, City, and us, losing all of them. City twice, obviously, in the Conti as well. So they're the only games they've lost. They looked in control against Birmingham when we went to watch that game. Lots of W's in that sentence. And yeah, they looked good. They looked in control. They looked like they needed to find that bit of an edge, but they got the goals and they won the game. The question is now, I guess the international break, a long international break, is the time to make that change if they were going to do it. No point kind of contemplating it and waiting until it's too late. The question is now kind of who comes in. Obviously, there's some names that have been thrown around, which will be, Champions League experience. Then it could work. I don't buy into the fact that he specifically overpromised. If a manager isn't going into the season being ambitious, then what are they there for? if our managers aren't going in saying we want to win the league in a couple of seasons, then what's the point in them being there? So I would be more surprised if Kirk wasn't saying things like we want to qualify for the Champions League, because of course they want to qualify for the Champions League. If he's happy to settle for 4th and 5th, then why is he there? So actually, they overpromised and underdelivered. I think maybe he's kind of thought this is as far as I can take them. Maybe that there is. There's discussions around the Man City job as well. Is there smoke without fire there? I think it'd be unlikely for him to get that job, to be honest, but it would make sense as to why he's left. But yeah, it's one of them where I was surprised. I think his start isn't as bad as it looks on paper, but also I'm not sure he's going to be the one to take them into the Champions League. They've got good players in, and it gives them 3 weeks now to go and find that new coach and get them in place before Leicester on the 3rd of November.
Yeah. Anthony, I'll come to you then. I'll go back to this about, do you think Gareth Taylor will follow suit? Obviously, we're not doing too much Man City chat tonight, if any, but do you want to just take that and then I'll give you another Everton question?
Well, it's a results business at the end of the day, isn't it? So it depends how they get on after the international break. They've suffered with injuries, but I don't buy that. They've had their side might have been a bit unbalanced through all the injuries, but I still think City had enough quality to beat the likes of Tottenham and West Ham, which they didn't. So he's definitely under pressure, I think. I'm not sure who their next game is, to be fair, but I think
Chelsea, I think.
Is it?
Oh,
okay.
Leicester in the Cup, is it first? And then Chelsea probably League?
No, they've got Chelsea on the 31st in the FA Cup.
Right.
Okay. Well, if they lose to Chelsea in that and then say draw or even lose in the next WSL game, then I think it will be hard for him to stay. It depends how patient the owners are going to be, but I would say he's probably on borrowed time as it is. So it's probably come at a good time, the international break. They'll be hoping to have a few of their players back, more of their team balanced back together. And you got to remember last season, they started slow as well, City. Unfortunately, the slow start cost them the WSL last season. So they're not out of it. It's like you said, it's only 5 games. So they could quite easily still challenge. But with Arsenal looking great, it's going to be a lot harder than last season. But
based on that then, and thinking Everton sort of discussion, you mentioned about, we lost Gareth. You mentioned about, obviously, it being sort of results driven. Do you think it was maybe harsh in the fact that they have played quite a few of the big 3 then, Anthony? Obviously, like you said, it's results driven, but are they expected to beat, like the likes of, the Chelsea's, for example?
It's a hard one. If they had a fully fit squad, then yeah, definitely. They're the teams we look at and you think if you can avoid defeats against them and beat the teams, the smaller clubs like Birmingham, Tottenham, get the goals, which sometimes we struggle with. I do think they are expected to beat them. It's just the amount of injuries they've got. I think they really are suffering with Ellie Roebuck out. I don't think their reserve team goalkeeper, or she's even their third team keeper, is clearly good enough. Looking at the goals we scored against City, I feel if Roebuck was in goal, we wouldn't have got a point in that game. just because I thought they looked savable. But you got to whatever's in front of you, you got to just take advantage of it. And then obviously with Lucy Bronze and Steph Horton not there, they're missing some of their better defenders. And you got people. I know Greenwood's played centre back before, but it's not her best position in that. So I think when they do get their players back, you'll see their results improving. But it has to be sooner rather than later. Like you said, with Taylor, he'll be out of the door.
That's the thing, I think, with Everton as well. Their defensive play has been horrendous. Like the amount, it's not the goals that they're not scoring. They are scoring the odd goals, but they're conceding a lot.
Oh, my bad, Gareth. Sorry.
It's like 16 goals in 4 games or something, 4 or 5 games. Which, like we were saying, it's a results game. If you're leaking goals, you're never going to win, especially if you're not scoring that many. And obviously, I think Willie's been given, pardon the pun, run of the chocolate shop and just said, you've got money, go and spend it, and he has. But then because he's not got that experience in that higher level management in terms of Champions League and things like that, he's like, oh, this is hard. It's too much hard work. And then obviously he's either left and thought, I'm going to quit while I'm ahead, or Everton have turned around and said, look, we don't think you're good enough, we'll get somebody else in. And I think that's what's happened. So I think it's massive his own downfall, I think, really. But we'll see what the new manager does when they are announced.
Yeah, my apologies. I thought we were still on about City because you asked a question.
Good.
So
good. No, it's fine because Emma's pretty much covered what I was going to say. I was just going to say, I think for me personally, like, you know, having spent so much money in the summer, it does, like we've all talked about, it does bring that pressure. And I think, like, you know, I'm looking here at sort of John's comment about, you know, having pre-season to get ready and work with these players, and he's not delivered. And, you know, Emma talks about sort of wanting a higher level and it being a higher level of sort of what they want to achieve. And I do agree, you know, I think because he's not been at that sort of top 4, top 3, even if you want to call it level in terms of managing, you know, it's kind of fallen apart. And I think, you know, this is how it's going now in women's football. One thing you may not be given as much as used to be is time. And I just think for me, you know, you even see it in the men's game. I think of clubs that come up from the Championship. You know, I think of Sheffield United when they came up and they're signing 10, 12 players. Fulham did the same. I think signed 14. And they're up and down, up and down, up and down. And obviously, I'm not tipping Everton for relegation, far from it. But point being is that, you know, you chuck in so many players together and expect them to gel quickly. It's not really likely going to happen. And especially
if this new manager comes in, I've just had a quick look. He's got a bit of bedding time. So the Conti Cup, he's got Leicester. Then they've got Brighton, which is technically now not an easy game. Then us, and then Leicester away in the league within like 3 weeks. So because there's a lot of matches coming in with a short space of time. Like City have got a horrendous amount of fixtures in the next like 3 weeks. They've got about 5 or 6 games in like 3 weeks. So they're going to be screwed, to put it mildly. But we're not bothered about them. So they can sort themselves out. But yeah.
No. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's going to be interesting, like you say, you know, and especially if the name that is linked does come in, that's quite a sizable name for somebody of sort of Everton's size, shall we say.
Yeah.
And there will be pressure on. You know, you come in and you look at it, and the club's clearly got ambitions, and now they need the squad and the manager to match it. So, yeah, you know, 5 games in, they're probably not where they expected to be, but, you know, that's probably a credit to other teams as well. Going to move on then, and I'll start with you on this, Gareth. Chelsea then, squad full of talent for me. You know, they literally, I couldn't pick out 1 or 2 players and say, you know, what these players are somebody that they rely on. I think they you know, they have a very good squad, and like most teams, you know, like I say, they'll rely on 1 or 2. But last year they made the Champions League. You know, they've got Emma Hayes. Fantastic manager. She's a winner. Tactical knowledge, you know, is there. She can adapt. Yeah, can adapt and change sort of formations and personnel and still get a win. Do you see them maybe making a Champions League final this year, or do you just think for them concentrate domestically and sort of focus on the league and cups and clear up in those?
I think with Chelsea, it's tricky. And obviously, those of you that are watching, my mouth will catch up to my voice eventually. But yeah, I think it's tricky for Chelsea because obviously they were so good last season. They were sort of head and shoulders above everybody else in the division. They were one of the top sides in Europe, and they've strengthened over the summer as well. They've had, out of the top three, the most consistency as well, in terms of like their squad remaining the same, their coach remaining the same. Obviously, City did keep the same coach, but again, they quite a few players in, and obviously a lot of injuries as well to disrupt their start to the season. So they've had a settled start to the season. I think they've looked strong. They've looked pretty good in the Champions League as well. Wolfsburg are a strong side, and coming back to get that point late on will have done them the world of good. It's just in the league, I think they're going to go toe to toe with Arsenal, and I know we're going to talk about them again later on, but I think it's going to be a case of who slips up out of the two of them. Like, if I'm not sure when the return fixture is, but I imagine it's kind of January, February time for Arsenal.
Wolfsburg?
No, for Arsenal, Chelsea in the league.
Oh, let me have a quick look. I'm just on it.
Feb,
13th of Feb.
There we go. So 13th of Feb, that could be big. I don't see any reason why both those sides won't win every single game between now and then. There's chances, obviously, for them to slip up. We thought at one point Leicester were going to hold out and get that clean sheet. But just the relentless wave after wave after wave of attack, they found that breakthrough. So even when they struggled against Juve, they still got the win. They struggled to find the back of the net against Leicester. They scored 2 goals from the 84th minute onwards. They did lose against Arsenal, but then they bounced back and absolutely trashed Everton the week after. So, and then they battered us as well. So, they are a strong attacking side, and they're a team that every single game you back them to score. Like if Chelsea aren't scoring, then there's a problem. I think I saw some mad stat that the last team to stop Chelsea scoring in the WSL was Mark Skinner's Birmingham City. So it's crazy. They're going to score goals. We've not even seen LJ particularly. She's still not fit from time at United. So yeah, they're a side that are going to score a lot of goals. Can they get to a Champions League final? Of course they can. Can they go one better? I'm not sure. Barcelona look really strong, but we'll see. Never say never.
I'll take that on the screen. About 3 at the back. I think there's a couple of reasons. One, I think Emma got shocked when Mielda got injured and she had no backup really. Obviously Hannah came to us, yay. And then did they have Niamh Charles? I always forget about Niamh Charles. I don't know why. Even when she's in the England squad and there's pictures, I'm like, who's that? Oh, Niamh Charles. So I think they did that. Plus they've got that many midfielders. It's just easier to play them as wing backs, or in whichever formation she decides. But I think it shocked her a bit in terms of she's relying on players defensively, because you can pretty much rely on what that back line is always going to be. It's the rest of them you're not so sure about, which I think is something that maybe will get them found out. Now, fixtures wise, they've got it pretty easy over the next few weeks, even though they've got a lot of games. Their Champions League home and away is at Servette, so touch wood, I don't really care. They should win that. They've got 6 games in 3 weeks. That's including home and away for the Champions League. City away twice in the league and the cup, and then they've got Villa in between that away. So the Villa could be a good opportunity for Villa to capitalise, because obviously they've been playing well, and Carla Ward's a genius. Oh, that's for another time.
I'm just thinking of Natalie's reaction now if she's watching.
Oh,
this.
she'll be gone.
She'll be loving you. Anthony, I'm looking at Ian's comment here and I'm thinking, Arsenal and Chelsea going straight to the wire. And I'll get onto Arsenal very shortly. But for you, and this might be a difficult one to answer, who do you reckon has the strongest squad, Arsenal or Chelsea? Because I'm just thinking, for me, the amount of money Chelsea have spent, there's probably a little bit more pressure on them to turn that into success. But it's close for me, but who do you say has got the better squad out of them two?
Yeah, you are right. It's very tough. You just look at the Chelsea squad and the players like Lauren James isn't even in this matchday squad.
She's still in a dungeon.
Is she still injured?
No, she's in a dungeon. She's been kept in a dungeon.
Oh, okay. So you look at that and the depth they've got is a bit more than Arsenal. So I would still have to say Chelsea got the better side. I know Arsenal beat them back earlier in the season, but
wipe the floor with them, I think I'd use.
Well, if we had proper officials, then it would have been a draw, wouldn't it? So,
don't make excuses.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all swings and roundabouts, as we can tell, because we've seen it with the Tottenham City game, the Man United Reading game, stuff like that. So you've got to accept at this level that you're going to get some and you're not going to get some, and that definitely benefited Arsenal. Arsenal have bought well, but I would say Chelsea have got more depth. I think, like you said, they've spent a lot more money. They're going to be under pressure more. But the new manager at Arsenal's doing a great job, isn't he?
He's a great manager. I think he's been kept under the radar, especially in Sweden.
Yeah, no, he's done really well. I didn't know much about him, but he's passionate as well, which is good. You want to see that in a manager. Much rather a passionate manager than one that's a bit of a drip. So at this moment in time, I'd say Chelsea.
See, I'm gonna go opposite.
But
only if, and this is an only if, especially going with Arsenal, they can stay fit. I think the quality of players at Arsenal are better than Chelsea. Just Chelsea have got more players. So say Arsenal players are at a 90%, whereas Chelsea ones are like 80, 85, but there's more of them. The spine of Arsenal, even though sometimes Zinsberger does do a few howlers, is very good. Kim Little, I can't say enough good things about Kim Little. Everybody knows that I love Kim Little. She's like, if you're comparing her in the men's game, she's Paul Scholes. She keeps herself quiet. Nobody knows anything about her. She goes about her business. But if you ask any other player that's played against her, she is the one that they fear. She's just a wizard. Anyway. But yeah, so, and obviously they've got Viv. They've brought Tobin in. And that forward line is just as good, if not better, than the Chelsea. Because obviously we've seen how many chances Sam Kerr misses. But so does Nikita Paris. So it's much of a muchness. Obviously Katie McCabe's got a new lease of life up front. And they can just switch it. And yeah, if they can keep fit, they're fine. Obviously Leah Williamson's coming into her own internationally. She's getting to that age now where she's ready to step up because she's been at Arsenal for like 325 years. So I think, I think I'd got Arsenal, and I think Arsenal have got more to prove because they've had that legacy, whereas Chelsea have only just starting to earn that legacy. So yeah, I think Arsenal.
Chelsea becoming the Man City men of football, I think, trying to buy history. Gareth,
exactly.
Pass to you.
Yeah, I just want to jump in on the comment that Anthony made about Chelsea having depth. We now live in a world where you can take Miedema off and not make your team any worse.
That's my point.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you. Arsenal up front
even in defence, like if you're playing a defensive B team Williamson, you can bring Robin Moy on, and that is just kind of miles better as well. The thing I want to say about Arsenal quickly is that nobody's actually mentioned yet who I think is probably their best signing of the summer. Like, forget Tobin Heath.
That plays in behind the top two.
Mana Iwabuchi,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love her as well. Don't.
World class. Just like watching her on the ball is an absolute joy. Just so technically gifted. Like I cannot genuinely say enough good things about Iwabuchi. Even I mentioned the 2015 World Cup quite a lot. She was great in that, and sort of ever since then, she's just been a player that I've really, really enjoyed watching. And Arsenal signing her was frustrating because I kind of thought that it's exactly the kind of player that we needed as well. Like John said there, we should have gone in for her. She's class, and I am going to order a Japan shirt and hopefully get her to get on that, and it can go up on the wall. But I think that Arsenal in their midfield and their attack, so much depth. It's very different to how they were last season, where you thought one or two injuries would completely derail them. If they get one or two injuries now, they'll be absolutely fine.
I actually think, I know Barcelona tore them a new one in that game, but I actually think Arsenal are the only ones that are close to them, like talent-wise, to actually beat them. Because I think the second leg will be a bit more interesting. I think Chelsea now, if they play Barcelona, I still think it'd be the same scoreline as it was last time. But we'll see.
Do you know what? That moves me. Must be psychic, Emma. That moves me perfectly onto my next comment. I'm going to bring Arsenal in. Say again.
I'm a woman, because I am.
No, do you know what? I was gonna bring Arsenal in, and I was gonna ask, and I may as well stick with you, Emma, then, because you mentioned Barcelona. How far are they off challenging the best teams in Europe? Was actually my first question. Obviously, they beat Hoffenheim 4-0. Second, obviously, Champions League game, and they seem to cut out now like these silly mistakes at the back. Doing well in the league, and obviously they've got no Conti Cup, so they've not as much got that sort of fatigue, if you like, because they've been sort of handed a bye in that. But what do you think then in terms of Europe for Arsenal?
Yeah, I think because they managed to just scrape Champions League, and we'll not dwell on that.
No.
I think that's where they're gonna do well, and the manager that they've now got obviously is a hold hand at Champions League, and I think that's where they'll go first. I also think, going back to Chelsea slightly, I do think Chelsea are going to go for the Champions League, but I don't think they'll get as far. And I don't actually think they'll get either this season. I think they'll be close. And I think Arsenal will win the league and then get quite far in the Champions League because of the lack of Conti Cup matches. However, I think Chelsea will just fall short in both, hopefully, anyway. But I just for my psychic wisdom.
Yeah, we don't want Chelsea lifting the WSL title when we're there, do we?
Well, I know we're trying to think, but I think they'll get one of the cups, and then we'll see about the rest.
Yeah, I'll sort of repeat that question to Anthony then. Has no Conti Cup matches maybe done Arsenal a favour in terms of, like I mentioned, sort of extra matches and player fatigue? Because I can imagine that if they'd have played Conti Cup as well as Champions League and WSL and everything else, obviously last season's FA Cup they were still in as well. In fact, they still are. Does that sort of do them a little bit of a favour then? The league maybe help them out there with that?
Yeah, 100%. Just means the players have more time on the training field. They're less risk of match injuries. And that is any team that doesn't have to, and it benefits Chelsea as well. So, of course, it's a bonus for them. Or it's, 2, 3, maybe. Well, they don't have to play 3-4 games extra, so they can put their eggs in other baskets. Whereas, and then no disrespect, unless Arsenal draw Chelsea in the first knockout stage, we both know they'll probably get to the final if the draw allows that. But it will work better for them because obviously they won't have to worry. They only got like 3 games to worry about in the Conti. So no,
sorry, I'm just going to put in on it. I think I actually think the managers give them a new lease of life as well. As was again in the Barcelona game, Kim Little is no spring chicken. She's even just retired from international duty after 150 matches. Like she's getting there, but she went sprinting down to pass the ball for a scoring opportunity, and then Barcelona got it back, and she sprinted basically to the other end of the pitch and got the ball back. No, she shouldn't be doing that at that age. she just should not even getting a proper tackle. And I think that's why she's give up Scotland, and also that the new Scotland manager is her old Arsenal manager as well. So that's a sign in itself. But we'll not touch on that tonight. But yeah, so I think she knows that this manager's got something special, and she's dedicating how many years is left in her career to him, and I think that's something that should be applauded, really.
No, absolutely. I think that's massive because, I mean, I'm the same. I love watching Kim, and like you said before, massively goes under the radar. But I think as well for her position, a goal-scoring record, you look at it, even when she started off with Hibs in her first Arsenal spell, it's just ridiculous. Like, literally, very, very, very good record. You'd think she was a forward. Her record's that good. Obviously, she's attacking midfielder, but, and then obviously she went over and played a little bit in Australia, and obviously, again, ridiculous record.
She was at Seattle for a while. She did, and that massive lift that Seattle had when Harvey was first there, when they won nearly everything. She was the catalyst of that. Her and Jess Fishlock in that midfielder was something else. But we'll not do a Kim Littlestan show just yet.
Yeah, just before I jump onto Gareth, Anthony, looking at that, just briefly want to explain that.
Yeah, our Friday show this week is basically going to cover the results from the last WSL round of fixtures, and with you doing this roundup show, I'm sort of going to ask John on certain views and who does he think will end up being top at Christmas? Who does he think will get relegated? Just a few questions like that to make it a long enough show, because obviously we haven't got any fixtures until 2 weeks after. So don't forget to watch, like, and retweet, as I know a lot of you like to do. So
good stuff. Gareth, still on the Arsenal topic then, obviously unbeaten in all 5 league games, 19 goals scored, and for me the big one is that they've only conceded 2 in the league, and I think from last year that's pretty big. Obviously we've all talked about their attacking talent in the midfield, but what I think is good as well is the back line seems to have, like I say, it's cut out mistakes. It's got a little bit more confidence. Crucially as well, they sit 3 points clear. I mean, people might say 3 points, it's not a lot, but to be fair, if you're a Chelsea playing catch-up, having already been beaten once by Arsenal, it's could be a tricky ask. But what are your thoughts on sort of them in the league, and obviously, like I say, sort of their defence as well?
I've said on my show previously that I think that they're now the favourites for the title, and I still stand by that. I think the defence is really strong. Like, you look at it, and I'm not sure who their top 2 central defensive pairing probably is. I would say Leah and Lotta probably, but Jen Beattie is great as well. So, it's tricky. They've got good quality keepers, a good quality second choice keeper as well. I just want to quickly touch on this comment from John saying that keeping Viv fit is critical. I don't think it necessarily is. I think if you look at where the goals are coming from in that side, Viv's on 4, Kim Little's on 4, McCabe's on 3, Mead's on 3. They're sharing those goals around, and they're sharing the assists around, and everyone's creating for everybody. And obviously, I feel like if Viv wasn't playing, then maybe Iwabuchi would play a bit further forward, or maybe Tobin would play centrally, or there'd be something with that. Mead might play centrally. There'd be something with that squad that would replace those goals. I feel like last season that was the issue, that they needed to keep Viv fit. Whereas I feel this season they've got plenty within the squad to replace those goals and replace that creativity. So I feel like that really is where it is. They've come in and they've just added real quality. They're still a big name in football, even though they've been third for, they won the league a couple of seasons ago, but since then Chelsea have been dominant. I just think that they are the number one side. The only goals they've conceded were against Chelsea. So no one else has put goals past them. And they're in a position now where, you look at our squad, you look at City's squad at the moment, Arsenal are stronger. You look at sort of every other side other than Chelsea, and I just don't see anyone beating them. And you think if they win the sides below them, then all they need to do is go to Chelsea in February and get a draw, and then they're on the home stretch. So I feel like that 3 points, although it is only 3 points, it's one game. They slip up, they lose a game, Chelsea win, it's back level. But I can see Chelsea slipping up. I can see Arsenal slipping up as well. But I just feel like they're a much more settled squad. They fit the system really, really well. Everyone knows what they want to do. They don't try and do anything particularly fancy. They're not keeping the ball and knocking it around for the sake of knocking it around. They're getting the ball and they are being quite direct with it. You saw again in that game against City, scored 5 goals with about 30% of the ball. So they're getting the ball and they're looking to make things happen. And if things don't happen, they've got the defensive capabilities to stop you, get the ball back and go again. Against Aston Villa, it was just relentless, wave after wave after wave after wave after wave. Eventually broke them in the second half and then just went on and scored several. But yeah, I just want to watch them play. I want them to be on TV and I want them to be where it doesn't clash with us so I can just watch them play. Because as a neutral, it's fantastic. Obviously, I don't want them to win the league because I'd rather it be us. But if out of a choice of the other 3 sides, I'd rather it be Arsenal. I quite like a few of the players. It's not Chelsea and it's absolutely not Man City. So, if it can't be us, I'd like it to be them. But obviously, would much rather it be us.
They're currently both evens at the moment. You
had to get that in, didn't you?
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, I think just to finish up where you sort of left off, Gareth, I think it's interesting because you were talking about obviously the City game there with like 30% possession. Then you were talking about the Villa game. I just think the contrast in the two styles of those two teams in Villa and City. City are usually known for attacking, and Villa obviously sat back. And it just gets me thinking, I'm reading Vix here saying she's nervous for the 21st. And I'm sat here thinking, where on earth do we hurt them? How do we actually approach that game? And it pains me to say that, but I suppose it's a credit to them. But I'm just thinking, do we sit back? Well, no, because that didn't work for Villa. Okay, we've got better players than Villa, but can we hold out for that? I'm not so sure, especially due to,
just
the
don't want
midfield.
Chelsea part 2.
That's it, especially being the midfield sort of up and down. Like you say, it could easily become Chelsea part 2. We could go out and attack them and then get caught high and get sort of torn a new one. Like you say, Chelsea part 2. So again, I think the time or the sort of way to do it, I think, is something that Gareth just actually mentioned in this chat here about sort of having a physical midfield and like a Haley Ladd type character to try and her best to play Kim Little out of the game. I think if you can stop Kim Little, you've got half a chance. And then and you've got the issue of the other 5, 6, 7 players plus the bench. But yeah, I think the setup's going to be key for me. Vix talks about here, she's worried about if we set up the way we do. The one here again, don't see us beating Arsenal. I think we're at home, so we need to give it a good go. But that game will be very interesting to say the least.
Well, we just need to stop making stupid mistakes. If we can start like we do against Chelsea, then we might as well not turn up.
Well, we'll see if we've learned. Moving on then to Spurs, and I'll start with you, Emma. I'll just read sort of what I think on Spurs at the minute. I think for me to be sat third, 5 games in, they'll be happy with that. I had Spurs sort of lower down, sort of bottom 3, bottom 4. That said, they've won four games. They only recently lost, and that came against Brighton. They only conceded 3 as well. That said, they've only scored 7, so they seem to be sort of cruising along on these 1-0 wins or these 2-1 victories, winning by a goal. But I'll let you chat a little bit about Spurs because I know you've got some sort of interesting information and facts on them.
Yeah, well, I said at the start of the season they'd be one of the ones that might surprise us. Obviously, the start of last season they had a lot of changes. They had a new manager come in. They had the whole Alex Morgan, whatever that was, half an hour. And then obviously brought in a few new players, and at the end of the season, they basically got rid of the entire team. So they had a massive rebuild. So they've had time to bed in. They've had obviously must have had a decent pre-season. And the manager's doing well. Like, I was just having a look because I know Rianne Skinner because I've heard her about the England camps for the youth setups and things like that. But I thought I'll just have a bit of a dig. She was actually the assistant manager with Laura Harvey at Arsenal during I think it was 2010 to 2013. So when they basically won everything after the Champions League. She was Laura's assistant, so that's obviously a valuable experience working with those types of players. And then she went on the lower a little bit before she went into the England setup. So she's had that experience, and she's doing well. And obviously, I think she's got a good. I said to you earlier, I think she's got a good mix of players. She's got a lot of older players. So like Zadorski's very well known in the WSL. She's a Canadian national, so therefore obviously won gold medal at the Olympics recently. Rhea Percival getting on as well now in her 30s. She's a New Zealand international that's been going for a long time, played at Frankfurt. And then they got obviously the kids, Rose Eliane. And then even like I said, even Rachel Williams is coming back on form. And she's like 325 as well. So she's it doesn't really matter as long as the goals are going in. But again, when we were talking about it earlier, Becky Spencer's doing really well in net, and I think she's finally getting the support she needs. She signed for Chelsea when she was a youngster. Sorry, not Chelsea, Arsenal, for 2 or 3 years, and then was at Birmingham for a few years. But when she got to Chelsea, I think she got a bad injury because she didn't play for them very much, and then got a bit sidelined. And then I think she was at West Ham for a bit, but then now she's got to Spurs, she's coming into her own, and obviously as goalkeepers, you do play a lot longer than you would if you was an outfield player. And she's also, for that good form, been called up for the Jamaican national team. So she's getting that extra experience, that extra coaching as well, that is making her quite difficult to beat. And obviously with the defence doing quite well, that's probably why they're not leaking goals. And then obviously when they finally get it up the other end of the pitch, some of the times it's going in. So, yeah, but again, it's early in the season. I'm going to have a quick check about the fixtures and stuff, but I think we've got them next, and that's at their home, so that's going to be something that we're going to have to show up for. And then I don't know who they really have got after that, but if they can, the next 4 games for them, if they can go 8 games in and stay in that top 3 area, then we've got to be worried. But again, we'll see.
Yeah, well, on that kind of sort of leads me into the next bit, and I'll get you to answer.
Do well tonight.
I know. Obviously, you know, I mean, to be fair, I agree with John on this. I don't know what you think about punching above the weight. To be fair, Man City's been the only test, and yes, they won it, and we know they shouldn't have done, but listen, they've got the 3 points. Do you think that maybe, you know, I mean, there was talk further above here about, you know, if they might just be potentially a striker away from finishing 3rd. I mean, I'm not convinced because I don't think they've been properly tested. But where are you sitting with Spurs? Obviously, like I say, you know, credit to them for what they've done, and it is overachieving. But do you think it's just a case of an extra forward, or do you think actually, you know what, they've got to play United, they've got to play Arsenal, Chelsea? Is it going to sort of, I don't know what's the word, sort of end there, shall we say, and maybe slip down a little bit, or yeah?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think fair play to them for the position they're in at the moment. They're definitely the surprise package at the moment. But you talk about them only playing City, really, which, yeah, we would have expected City to win. But if you don't take your chances, then you're always liable to pull off a shock, and that was the case with Cities. But you're going on about not being tested. Yeah, they've got us. Then it's the North London derby, and then they got West Ham, and West Ham Spurs. As at West Ham, that's not a given. They'll both be eager to beat each other. It's a bit like Arsenal not liking Tottenham, West Ham and Tottenham are a bit like that. So I'm not so much if it would be like that in the women's game. The rivalry's not
it is
so much pally a bit, isn't it? But November, if we come back to this question in December, it would be interesting because their next 3 WSL games are key to where you're about your question. Can they, and if they do, say, get 6 points out of the 9, then I think they would even take 4, to be fair. They'd take a draw against us, beat West Ham, lose to Arsenal. I think if you had offered them that, they would take it. The case with the striker and that, no, I think it's more than a striker that they need. They need a few more players, I think, personally, to be sustaining that top 3 push. Yeah, having a striker helps, but then if you look back, it's all right getting a striker that can put them in, but then if I'm just going to touch United quickly, you still got to put them away. You still got to have a mixture of people who can put them away. So I feel they will drop, but they'll be wanting at least mid-table now. I think 5th, 6th with the start they had. But like you said, it all depends how they do against the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea, and if they can keep that consistency against the teams that they'll expect to beat, the likes of Birmingham, Leicester, and that. So I don't expect them to stay where they are, but I think in terms of players, they do need more than just a striker.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just sort of staying with the Spurs theme then, Gareth. Would you say they've maybe gone under the radar? Because I think about, obviously, they came up with us, and obviously, sort of our WSL seasons, we've mainly been in that sort of top 4, haven't we? Spurs kind of the lower reaches, but now they're sort of really, they're going higher up, aren't they? And sort of, building slowly and quietly. Do you think that's sort of been done quietly? I mean, they seem to have improved year on year. It's just nobody's sort of made a big scene about it. And that's why I ask, have they maybe gone under the radar in terms of the way they've gone about it? And Emma touched on before about, getting that experience in. But what are your thoughts?
To an extent, yeah, probably. I think they've kind of gradually been improving each year. Last season struggled a bit, so they came up and kind of did okay. Things weren't quite so great last season, but they still, improved in January, and then were pretty comfortable by the end of it. I think this season, if you look at the games they've started with, and this is, I think, is where explains their good start. They started the season with a scrappy 1-0 win against Birmingham, who for me, we might touch on this later if we have time, but they're the worst side in the division. They got a win against Man City, which they were good. They were deserved credit for that game, but that final goal shouldn't have stood, and City actually bottled tons of chances to win that game. Then beat Reading 1-0, and Reading this season are really poor. Then he beat Leicester, who are yet to pick up a point before they went on to lose to Brighton. So the 3 teams they've beaten are arguably the 3 worst sides in the division, with the exception of City. So, City should have won that game. I discussed that on my show at the time. They had chance after chance after chance to win the game, but didn't, and then conceded a goal, which A, should never have been a goal because it was a clear handball, and B, even what happened after that handball, with it handballing onto Steph, onto the post, onto the keeper, and in, or something ridiculous, was like a 1 in a million goal. So, yeah, I think to an extent they have gone under the radar, but also think that they've had one of the easiest starts out of anybody in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know what? You mentioned Birmingham, so we may as well throw them in there as well. First point of the season, they managed to get a 1-1 draw with West Ham. Now, for me, I was quite surprised, actually. I didn't expect them to pick up anything, like Vic said here. West Ham have done better than expected. I think I had West Ham second bottom at the start of the season. I said Birmingham would be down. I said West Ham would be slightly above that. And I think that, fair play, they've proved me wrong. They might have proved a few other people wrong as well. But Anthony, I'll sort of start with you then on Birmingham. Obviously, they have got the point, but can you see them maybe kicking on now and continuing to pick up points, or is it a case of sort of see how it goes and see if they can pull off any shocks, or do you think maybe 1 point might give them confidence because they've got sort of 8 points on the board now?
Yeah, it could go both ways. It could give them some confidence, get that point, but then I still, I know they've got a point, but I still struggle to see where they get their points from. I think the big gap in the season won't help. I think after getting their first point, they would have just wanted to get straight into the next game and try and build a bit of consistency form. But we all know in the WSL that we have these mega breaks. Unfortunately, I feel, and hopefully with time, as more teams go professional and that, they will look to expand the WSL with the money side of things and that. But I've said it on my show. I struggle to see where Birmingham get points from. I know Leicester haven't done well, but I still think Leicester are a better side than Birmingham this season. Who do we know who they've got next game? Birmingham?
No idea.
No, I'll have a quick look.
Oh, okay. Emma's normally quite sharp on it, so I
Emma's
thought
on the stats, don't
Yeah,
worry.
I'm being distracted. I can't get on my phone. Hold
I
on.
thought she had something in with all the
You've
fixtures.
got Reading at home.
Oh, okay. Well,
We need that to be a draw then.
both not informed, so they'll think they can get something from it, but then it's one of those, isn't it? You maybe a point, but we'll see.
Emma, do you just want to briefly lead into your West Ham point and then move on to our signings?
Yeah, I just think West Ham are too inconsistent. I think they were lucky against City. City were just in a bad way from previous results, and I think they capitalised on it. I don't think it was... They played well for a West Ham team, and I think Maka, and obviously we always keep saying I'm Australia FC, but she had one of the best games she's ever played in a West Ham shirt. But she needs to keep doing that every week. Well, she doesn't, not against United anyway, but she needs to keep doing that every week. And that's something that they can think. They have strengthened in midfield, again, bringing another Australian in. And Brenna Stottier is finally bedded in. And I've always said when she first signed for West Ham, she was going to be something, or someone, should I say, that would be a threat for them. And she even scored in that game. So they'll be thereabouts, but I don't think they'll be anywhere near top 5.
Yeah. Gareth, you wanted to very quickly jump on Vic's comment about Leicester.
Yeah, so just to touch on this comment that Vix has made here about kind of Leicester's running, I think they're a side that are low on confidence and need something to click for them. And I genuinely think that going 84 minutes against Chelsea without conceding, although they went on to lose that game, will actually be the catalyst that kickstarts their season. Their first game back in the Conti is at home to Everton. Definitely, absolutely winnable game there. There's going to be players in that squad that have a chip on their shoulder and a point to prove for Everton. Kirsty Lavelle has been on fire anyway, has a point to prove after being dropped for Corpella. You've got Hannah Kane, who wants to go and prove that she can still score goals and still create chances for the people. So, that's just a couple of them. There's going to be others as well. I think they need a result. They need a result, and then the points will start flowing. They're a better side than Reading. They're a better side than Birmingham. I think arguably they're on a par with West Ham. They're on a par with Spurs. They just need something to click. And once it does, then the points will start flowing for them. Once they have that little bit of confidence, once they can get that service into Siggy, then they'll start scoring.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I'll not bang on too much because I'll know Robert will be in the comments probably crying and moaning again because we mentioned Leicester. So I'm going to swiftly move on. We'll touch on Man United because I think it's important, and we've not talked about this yet. Obviously, we had new signings coming in the summer. I'll start with you, Anthony. I'll let you pick. I'll give you a little bit of leeway. I'll let you pick one of the new signings to talk about and discuss how they've settled in. Obviously, Sophie Bagley has only played the Durham game. Not seen too much of Bo Reeser. Obviously, Martha Thomas sort of in and out with injury, but if you want to pick one and sort of discuss what your thoughts are, and then we'll go around and do it that way.
Okay, no worries. I'll start with the easiest one then. Hannah Blundell. I don't know why Chelsea got rid of her. To be fair, she's been great for us, constantly getting assists for us, and that was what we were missing last season. Obviously, we had Honor that would run up the wing, but now we can do it from both sides, so we can mix it up. One can stay back, one can go up, which I think is a great improvement for United this season. It definitely helps. She's fitted in so well. Sometimes I think it helps that she's been around in the WSL for quite a while, obviously with Chelsea and that. So it wasn't like she had to get up to the speed of the game, which is why maybe with Bo Arisa we're not seeing her as much yet, physicality-wise. And I think she'll only get better. I think hopefully she'll keep getting the assists, maybe coming up with a goal. But it's not just the assists. She's great at getting back and defending, and that it's just what we need. No disrespect to people like Harris, but if you're going to be wanting to challenge with the best, you need players of Blundell's quality, and I feel Chelsea probably didn't want to let her go, but it is what it is, and they let her go, and it benefits us. So she settled in really well, which is great.
Emma?
I'm going to go a bit left field. I'm going to say Martha Thomas. Obviously, I said I've been a fan before I even started. He's off.
God, you've set him off now.
I know.
Lisa got the right tune.
I'm glad. In tune is another thing, but we'll talk about
that. Like I said before, I've never said could do it in tune.
Martha. Unfortunately, she picked up an injury, and she did have injuries at West Ham, so hopefully that's not a recurring theme. It's just United. But I think she's going to make a difference. Obviously, we'll bang on about Russo till the cows come on, but she needs help, and we also need someone that can play in different positions in that forward line, and she can do that. When we went through that phase last season of doing well, Martha was one of the only ones that scored against us, and I think, like I've said before, she's here to prove a point, and once she can get a good run of games, I think we'll actually see something quite brilliant. But we've just got to get that.
Gareth, Mannion?
Yeah, so just touch on Aoife Mannion. We said when she signed that it was a gamble based purely on fitness. We knew that she was a quality player. We also were just very much aware that she spent a good chunk of the last 2 seasons on the physio table. However, that gamble seems to have paid off. I feel as though she is the new player, and I know Hannah Blundell has been is racking up assists and has got nominated for Player of the Month. But I think of all the new signings, the one who is the one that I think is probably going to be the first on the team sheet for a lot of us potentially is Mannion, because she just seems to make that entire defensive unit gel. And I think I had doubts over Thorisdottir at the start of the season, and go back right through to January and even before then. But in that kind of back to partnership with Mannion, it seems to click, and the whole defence seems to click. And I think I say a lot that the most important bit of the team to get right is that centre back pairing and the goalkeeper, and we now seem to have that. Obviously, the issue with Millie, she seems now to be back doing some kind of training, not necessarily on the pitch, but also, but seems to be kind of getting there and doing some kind of physical exercise. So I'm hopeful that she'll be back before Christmas. And I think we've got a really strong central defensive pairing and goalkeeper. And I think with that, just quickly, we need to be careful that the fullbacks don't get caught out too high up the pitch, because that does seem to be our kind of defensive fragility. But much happier with the defense now than I was last year.
Yeah, I think just to briefly touch on that, I think Manning's brought quite a lot of stability. I was worried in summer. I said, for me, she needs to stay fit, and it could be viewed as a gamble if she didn't stay fit. But I think luckily for us, she's been ever present. A couple of people shouting Manning for captain. She did captain against Durham. Good shout, to be honest. But yeah, I think, like Natasha says, that is a brand new show in itself.
I'm busy that day.
Yeah, I think I had a bit of washing and things to sort myself. Actually, I think we had this conversation. But yes, I'm gonna take the final two. Then I'm obviously going to take Baggers and Bo Risa. I'll start with Risa, and again, I don't want to go into too much of a debate on who should play and all that stuff. But I think for me, I would have liked to have seen more of Bo Risa. I think what I have seen, I've liked. She looks good in a tackle. Doesn't seem to shy away. Passing ability as well. I like how she breaks the lines and she finds the forward players and sort of tuning in the gaps as well. And I think she's been a welcome addition. I think she offers something different. I look at some of the midfielders and I just think, Bo Risa, that's what we needed, or this is this and that's that, So yeah, happy she came in. Norway international as well. And then Sophie Bagley. Sophie Bagley was somebody I talked about last year, even when she was at Bristol. Big fan of Sophie. Seeing her for England teams as well, and yeah, just like what she brings. She's only small, but for small goalkeeper, she's a very, very talented goalkeeper. And I think, do you know what? Although she only played against Durham, I think she in training has pushed Mary all the way. I think this year we've seen a really improved Mary Earps, and I massively believe that's down to Sophie Bagley coming in. Like I said, having seen Sophie, since her early days, and she's still young as well. I do rate her, and I think, like I say, I've looked at some of Mary's performances, and people are always critical of Mary, but I think this year, there's a couple of quality saves that she pulled off. In the last two games, really, you could pick out individual things. So yeah, I think the goalkeeping debate is one that was a lot, it was massively talked about over summer, and I think that Sophie's added to that. And if we see her in cups this year, I'll be happy. If she can manage to dislodge Mary, then in my view, she deserves it, because it will take one hell of a shifting and a performance. But listen, bring it on. This is what we've wanted. And I think it's, like I say, it's massively benefited Mary. Going to end the show then with a couple of questions. So I'll start with you, Gareth, and then we'll go around to Anthony and then to Emma. First one then, standout player of the season so far. And I know obviously we're only 5 games into, that's, probably a daft question, but do you know what? Sorry, I'm going to ask it anyway. You can pick anyone in the WSL. It doesn't have to be Man United, but yeah, give me a player. If you want to explain why, cool. If you don't, that's fine as well.
Kirsty Lavelle. Reason for that is behave, Anthony, that facial expression. Reason for that is she had 2 games in October and made 14 saves across 2 games, which is obscene. She's, making saves at point blank range, which has absolutely no right to making saves with her nose. She's getting to things that, she's absolutely have no right to get to at all. And I think, when Leicester have been on TV, if you sit and watch it, then she just produces goalkeeper performances that keep Leicester in it. Against Chelsea, there's no way they'd have lost that game 2-0 if it wasn't for her. Against Spurs, the chance after chance that Spurs had, she got the saves. I know there's probably sort of more obvious picks that I can make. Beth Mead is a potential one who surprised me this season in just, and I'm sure that it hurts you a little bit to acknowledge how great she's been as well. But I think just in terms of a player that I think has far and above like all the other goalkeepers in the league in terms of what she's contributed for their team, has to be Lavelle.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm not even disappointed for me. I just think that when I saw her for Sunderland, she was on fire down the middle, and she seemed to just farmed out wide. And then I don't know, it's one of them, and I'm sure John will be in the comments.
I was waiting.
Yeah, no, he'll be loving that because he's a big Mido fan. But for me, I just thought, she seemed like it's taken her a while to find a form for Arsenal. For me personally, anyway, I think like you said, fair play to her this year. She looked. Looked a lot better. Again, new manager makes a massive difference.
I think Joe just played her in a few different positions because he didn't know where to play her, and she never got any consistency. But yeah, she's doing all right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, spot on. It makes a difference. Anthony, then, your standout player of the season so far?
Yeah, there was a few I could have went for. Like,
just give me one. I've only got.
I'm only going for one, and I know someone like Vix mentioned Harder in the comments, but I'm going for. And I don't like her, but she's a quality player. And Frank Kirby.
I was going to go on the mind. Carry on.
It's not just the goals; it's the assists as well.
Okay,
and it's not all about the assists as well. They don't have the ball, she'll be hunting it down like she did with us, unfortunately. And I think it's seven goals she scored with the 2 in the FA Cup, 3 assists, and that's only obviously she hasn't scored in the Champions League. But for me, early days. But if I was going to pick like a sort of nearly a quarterly thing, it would be me, Frank Kirby for me. Just think she's a brilliant. I'd love her to come to United, but I think I'm dreaming a bit there. So.
Hey, nothing wrong with dreaming, pal. Emma?
Just if Chloe's watching, I was going to pick Fran as well, so don't get at me. I'm just saying. Obviously it's going to be Kim Little. She's just doing the same things all the time. Like especially when they get a penalty, she's going to score. She's just in and about everywhere. She's now Jonas has put her further up the pitch, and she's not having to do the extra leg work. She can just pick a pass and let the forwards do their thing. This is the reason Arsenal are scoring goals is because of Kim Little, not because of the strike. Obviously, the strikers have to put it in the back of the net, but to get to that stage, I think Kim's the orchestrator of that team, and that's the reason they are doing so well, in my opinion, and my opinion only.
Yeah, I'm glad you made that clear, just so the Twitter people don't.
I'm joking. Exactly.
Yeah, do you know what? It's interesting actually. I thought about this, and I was half thinking here about chucking in Tooney, like Stuart says, because I just think, since last year she's our best player in my view. This year she's probably, could say the same as well. Obviously Alessia's just about finding form and fitness.
Oh, that screams a good.
I've actually gone again. Starting out.
He's back. He's back.
I'm back.
You're back.
His electric's running out.
This is Wi-Fi. Anyway.
No, it's all good, Anthony. Just dodgy weather outside, mate. Kills my internet. No, I was going. I've not picked Tooney. I've gone for Pernilla Harder. And I just think for me, I looked at her last year, and I wouldn't say she struggled, but she wasn't the sort of player that I've seen and that I knew she could be. And I think this year she's just been, key to Chelsea's success. And I think, I watched a debate on the, I think it was the Monday night show. It's definitely on Sky anyway. And they were sort of talking about her importance to the team and popping up with the goals and the assists and the runs. And I just think for me this year, she's been, literally quality for Chelsea, and the reason behind sort of their wins and the success. I think it was you, Gareth, that mentioned about Chelsea beating Juventus, and again, she was sort of key to that, for putting that together and helping them grind out the wins. So, my vote is for Pernilla Harder.
I think it's because Sam and Fran have got their thing going, and then but she's not like, I'm trying to steal the spotlight. She's like, I'll be, if you don't do it, them two don't perform, I'll be there to tap it in. Yeah. And obviously sometimes that happens, and then that's why she's scoring the goals.
Yeah, spot on. I think, yeah, again, looks like the more, looks like a player she was at Wolfsburg. And I agree, obviously coming to a new country is always difficult, and it's a lot more physical WSL than Germany, in my view. But I think, now we're really seeing, like you said, Emma, everyone's Kirby Harder at the minute, but for me, Kirby and Kerr can't get the K's out. But I think for me, like I say, hard has just been another level. Final question to end it then. May as well go round. In fact, we'll go backwards. I'll start with you, Emma, then Anthony, then Gareth. It's going to sound daft again, but you know what? I don't care. Team of the season so far, and like I say, obviously, again, just so people don't come from, I'll make it clear. Yes, we're 5 games in. Doesn't matter. We can still admire. So, maybe somebody that's either done something you didn't expect, or you can just go with one of the top teams, and we'll go at it that way. Who's impressed you the most so far?
I'm gonna go Spurs. Yeah, obviously, they've not played massive teams, but at the end of the day, they still got to grind out a win. Maybe last season it'd be a 0-0 or 1-0. Obviously, they're not massively still scoring, but they're playing better. So, and again, they got rid of about 12 players last season. So the fact that they've got basically a brand new squad, they're not doing too bad for the minute.
Anthony?
Yeah, well, I could have picked the obvious Arsenal, but Emma's was what I was going to say. I was going to say Spurs.
I was going to say Spurs.
Emma's, so did I. Like, we discussed it earlier in the show that, they had only really had City, but like Emma had said, you got to beat who's in front of you, and last season they're the kind of games that they wouldn't have won. So that's my reason. 5 games in.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I actually thought you might have gone Brighton.
But they're doing well. But I'm waiting for Gareth to say Leicester now.
I have no words, so I'm going to pass to Gareth.
I'm going to put Anthony on mute.
Arsenal. They're just the best team in the league, and
well, obviously that's why they're top.
What?
5 games, Anthony. Don't forget that, pal. I'm making that clear before Twitter people come for us. Carry on, Gareth.
I think they're just the best team in the league, and like I say, as a neutral, I just want to see them play. It's bad for United fans, but I'm looking at the fixtures list for when they play Everton because it's just down the road. And I can just nip there. I can get on the little electric scooters that we have in Liverpool and just make my way across to Walton Hall Park and watch them absolutely destroy Everton. I just enjoy watching them play. They've got a likable manager. They've got likable players, and I'm a big fan of Japan anyway. So having Iwabuchi just makes them an even more likable club. Way less left field here. The best side this season. Conveniently, the side that are unbeaten at the top of the league.
Do you know what? I'm just thinking, you're talking about electric scooter. That saves me standing outside the ground for 20 minutes, doesn't it? When it takes you an age to get through that sodding park. Just a mode of transport, that.
We should just make a really long one that we can all stand on and do like a conga.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to be boring and agree with start again. I'm going to be boring and agree with Gareth. I think for me, Arsenal. Oh, it's disappeared. Arsenal. There's always one running off. I think just Arsenal. Like I said before, for me, they've cut out mistakes. They've added quality at the top. The defense is pretty much unchanged, but he's worked wonders with it. He's cut out the mistakes. They look a solid unit. And I keep banging on about this, but we went to see him against Villa, and I just think, when you can make subs, I think it got ridiculous to the point where they took Iwabuchi off for Heath, and I think the other change, I can't think who it was. It was somebody for Leah Williamson.
I think Miedemar for Ford or somebody, which is still.
And I just look at it. I just think, you got Jordan Nobbs on your bench, you got Leah Williamson on your bench, you got Tobin Heath on your bench. It's just insane to bring that level of quality on. But Gareth mentioned it before he disappeared. They're unbeaten. Absolutely gave Chelsea a good hiding, which I didn't expect at the start of the season. Obviously, like we talked about,
nice.
They just scraped in the Champions League last year. So I think to see last year's team to this year's team, that manager, like you said, deserves credit for turning it around. And again, I'll admit, somebody I didn't have a clue who he was, but he's come in and they've got this sort of brand of football now. And I think they're a lot more sort of aggressive, but aggressive in a good way. I think the pressing's a little bit more on it, sort of pressing from the front, and that filters through. And it just gives everybody confidence. So as much as it pains me to say that, I've got to be honest. So, yeah, Arsenal. Yeah, end of the show then. Slightly over, but you know what? It's been a good discussion. John saying, when Arsenal are on the games, nobody to better what. I agree. Yeah, wish we'd had him instead.
Like I said earlier, though, we don't want Chelsea winning the WSL. We don't want to be Kings Meadow with all the Chelsea fans going, hey, champions, we know what we are.
That'd give him more than one word of Chelsea to champ, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, we'll wrap it there then. So thanks to you both for joining me. I would thank Gareth, but he ran off, so that's just tough. Thank you to everyone again who's tuned in and who's liked, etc. Natalie, I think, is back tomorrow at 7:00. Then we've got John's show Thursday. Obviously, Anthony, as you mentioned earlier, you're on Friday as well. Fans Forum is also on. Self and Benny Saturday, and Sunday we're out on the road. So we will, see you all throughout the week. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.